two protons are accelerated in opposite directions, where each of them have a speed of 0.8 times the speed of light relative to a stationary observer in a laboratory. And remember, we're looking at the velocity in one dimension, so the configuration would look something like this. And we're asked for the speed of one of the protons measured from the other. So what we can do is place our origin of the prime coordinate system at the center of mass of one of the protons, so it'll look something like this. So we have x prime, y prime, and z prime. And using our Galilean transformation, the velocity of the proton measured by our primed observer is equal to the velocity of the proton according to the unprimed observer minus the velocity of the primed observer. So we're measuring the velocity of this proton relative to this proton. So what we get is the velocity of the proton in the unprimed frame is 0.8 times the speed of light and minus the velocity of the unprimed observer, who'd be moving with this proton at minus 0.8 by the speed of light. So the primed observer will measure the speed of this proton as 1.6 times the speed of light, which cannot exceed the speed of light. So this is the problem with Galilean transformations, which will be addressed by the special theory of relativity, where we'll take the speed of light as a physical law. So more on that later. A particle with a mass of 2 kilograms is moving at a velocity of 3 meters per second along the x-axis of a frame F and approaches a second particle with a mass of 1 kilogram moving at a velocity of 2 meters per second in the opposite direction. So this is particle 1 and this is 2, and after these particles collide, particle 2 has a velocity of 1 meter per second along the x-axis. And in part A, we're asked to calculate the velocity of particle 1 after the collision. So to do that, according to an observer in frame F, we apply the conservation of linear momentum. So we have the mass of particle 1 by the velocity of particle 1 plus the mass of particle 2 by the velocity of particle 2. So these are the momenta before the collision. And after the collision, we have the mass of particle 1 by the unknown velocity of particle 1 plus the mass of particle 2 by the velocity of particle 2. So what we get is 4 is equal to 2 by u1 final plus 1. So therefore u1 final is 3 on 2 or 1.5 meters per second to the right. So as we can see, 2 by 1.5 plus 1 gives the same momentum after the collision as before the collision. Now in part B, we're asked to explain the collision that's seen by an observer in a primed frame who has a velocity of 1 meter per second relative to the unprimed observer along the x-axis. So our primed observer will have primed coordinates and be moving at a velocity of 1 meter per second relative to the unprimed observer. So using the Galilean transformation, where we have the velocities of each particle according to the primed observer is equal to the velocity of the particle according to the unprimed observer minus the velocity of the primed observer. So therefore transforming these velocities, so we have the initial velocity of particle 1 as seen from the primed observer is equal to 3 meters per second according to the unprimed observer minus the velocity of the primed observer, which is 1 meter per second. So that's equal to 2 meters per second. And then the primed velocity of the second particle is equal to the velocity of the second particle according to the unprimed observer minus the velocity of the primed observer, which gives minus 3 meters per second. And then doing the same for the final velocities according to the primed observer. So we have the final velocity of particle 1 was 1.5 meter per second according to the unprimed observer, minus the velocity of the primed observer, which is 0.5 meters per second. And we have the velocity of the second particle, according to the primed observer after the collision, is equal to 1 minus the velocity of the primed observer, which is equal to 0. So the initial momentum of the system before the collision, according to the primed observer, is equal to the mass of particle 1. So recall that the mass is absolute, and we multiply this by 2 meters per second, and plus the mass of the second particle, which is 1 kilo, by minus 3 meters per second. So that would give an initial momentum of 1 kilo meter per second. And then the final momentum, or the momentum after the collision, according to the primed observer, is equal to 2 kilos by 0.5 meters per second, plus 1 kilo by 0 meters per second, which again gives 1 kilo meters per second. So as we can see, the initial momentum and final momentum, according to the unprimed observer, is 4 kilometers per second, and initial and final momenta of the primed observer are 1 kilometer per second. So these are different, and so are the velocities of the particles according to the primed observer compared to the unprimed observer. Well, we can see that momentum is conserved according to the unprimed observer, and momentum is also conserved according to the primed observer. Two particles exert equal and opposite forces on each other that are directed along a straight line between them. Now, given that the magnitude of these forces is a function of the distance between them, you can represent the forces by the negative of the space derivatives of the potential energy function, or the gradient of the potential energy function. Show that the equation of motion of one of these particles is not altered by a Galilean transformation. So if we label this as particle A and particle B, and focus on the equation of motion of particle A, then we have the net force exerted on particle A in the x direction is minus the partial of the potential energy function with respect to the x coordinate of particle A is equal to the mass of particle A by the acceleration of particle A, or the second derivative of the position of particle A with respect to time. And we have similar equations of motion in the y direction. So we have the partial of the potential energy with respect to y is equal to the mass of particle A by the acceleration of particle A in the y direction. And similarly, we have the partial of u with respect to z is equal to the mass of particle A by the acceleration of particle A in the z direction. And now to show that the equation of motion is not affected by a Galilean transformation, we can start with the right hand side. So recall that under a Galilean transformation, the primed velocity is equal to the unprimed velocity minus the velocity of the primed observer. And if you differentiate this, we get the primed acceleration is equal to the unprimed acceleration of the particle. So given the velocity of the primed observer is constant, it drops out. So from this, we conclude that the acceleration of the particle, according to the primed observer, is equal to the acceleration of the particle according to the unprimed observer. And that's true for all these three equations. And similarly, in Newtonian mechanics, the mass is absolute, so the mass according to the primed observer is the same as the mass according to the unprimed observer. So therefore we show that the right hand side of all these equations is unaffected by a Galilean transformation. And now we want to show that these partial derivatives on the left hand side are also unaffected by a Galilean transformation. So the separation between the particles, according to an unprimed observer, is obtained using the Pythagorean theorem. So according to the unprimed observer, we have x of particle B minus x of particle A squared plus y of particle B minus y of particle A squared plus the z position of particle B minus z of particle A squared. And we take the square root of this expression. So that gives the distance between the particles. And recall, when we located two events at the same time, the length was invariant under a Galilean transformation. So in other words, the difference between the positions, according to the unprimed observer, was equal to the difference between their positions, according to the primed observer. And we have the same expression for y and z. So therefore, the distance between these particles, according to the unprimed observer, is the same as the distance measured by a primed observer. So therefore, the potential energy function, according to both observers, is identical. And now we want to show that these partial derivatives are invariant under a Galilean transformation. So what we have is minus a partial of u with respect to the position of particle A. So that's equal to minus the derivative of u with respect to r by the partial of r with respect to the position of particle A. So what we get is minus du dr, and the partial of r with respect to xa, which you can obtain using the chain rule, gives minus xb minus xa over r. And if we differentiated with respect to x according to the primed observer, well, what we'd get is minus du dr prime by the partial of r prime with respect to xa prime. So that would give minus du dr prime by minus xb prime minus xa prime over r prime. So as we mentioned, length is absolute, so both observers measure the same length, and therefore we saw that the distance between the two particles is absolute, so these two are the same, and the potential energy functions were identical, so differentiating the potential energy function with respect to r and r prime gives the same result. So therefore these derivatives in the unprimed and primed frame are identical. So therefore these derivatives are the same, and therefore the left hand side of this equation is also invariant under a Galilean transformation. And by similar reasoning, which I'll leave for you as an exercise, you'll also find that these two derivatives are invariant under a Galilean transformation. And therefore the equations of motion are not affected by a Galilean transformation.